Hello, beautiful souls. So I was taking a walk and it decided to rain on my parade, so I'm going to do a video. So I've been feeling really good. I was having issues, I think I might have said in another video, with headaches, I don't know, migraines. And sometimes, since I used to do this with books, and it's called, I believe, bibliomancy, where you pull a bunch of books down that you feel led to pull, and then you flip open to page and you read and you stream together a message. Like I said, you can divinate with anything: salt, sand, sticks, clouds. Just have to find what is your best medium. And so anyways, I was like, oh my goodness, to myself, what is the freaking wrong with this headache? I'm doing everything right. And I thought, oh, maybe it's a detox because of my diet changes. But actually, so I'm scrolling and I just happened to stop. Something got my attention. And when I stopped, a video started playing and a priest come on and he was talking about when people put demons on you purposely, or you have a demon, or you take in or attract a demon, the head one, the mother, she will often, the mother of demons, or the mother lode, or whatever you want to call it in your thing, because there's so many fourth dimensional creatures, but they usually complain of neck and headaches because the demon says they put their foot on the back of your neck. It's a sign of dominance, Archangel Michael does that to the dragon. So symbology, reversed on both sides. They both use the symbology in the way they want to. So that was an interesting experience. I mean, if I had to count how many demons I've had to work with in my life, I've lost count. I don't count anymore. And to me, they're basically kind of all the same thing. Though, we might see them differently, name them differently. The one is the one. It's just sides of the one. And that's how I digest and deal with this. So my original intent to talk on this was going to be about how there's people in my about info that I recommend for you guys to watch as videos. But be very clear, I do not necessarily agree with the totality of what these people believe. Like, say for instance, one of the guys, Derek, he is a Christian, biblical, Bible, Jehovah, or Yahweh, or whatever they call him, one of those manys. And they see that as not a pantheon of a god, though it used a pantheon of fractal names, but they only see it as a singularity, God, of a monad, I would say, or a sign, symbol, because everything's a symbol here. So he believes in that. But what I had posted on what he shares is because if you're stuck in a mentality that's Christian and you're very affected by it, when you realize that all of that God energy has been upgraded, distilled, and washed away in Christ, basically it takes all that Christian religion out of the way. And so I share with that. I am not believing as he believes. And I've shared also, I really like, wow, I can see his face, but I can't think of his name right now, and that's quite embarrassing. Mr. Spina. RJ Spina. So, I don't know why I had another symbol other than spine in my head, but I guess that may be appropriate. But anyways, his messages, I do not believe, okay, in giving my life force and my energy to monads that I don't know or that I don't work with. And his monadic line is Merlin, Christopher Columbus, and some other monads that are all hive minds of higher aspects of alchemists that lived here. And I've shared much on the fact that I don't agree with you know, the negative forms of alchemy, you know, the God eaters. Well, if your toroidal field is constantly imploding, you're taking energy from everything. So if you want to make an excuse that forcibly or cruelly taking energy from people is good, then you should be drinking blood and eating meat. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the whole argument as why, because I have a million videos on that, which, like I said, I've got to go over them and put them up as I see fit. But I don't agree with the way, say, Saint Germain or many of Merlin, many of these alchemists became alchemists. Because if you study alchemy and not the New Age thinking and the paradigm of what these symbologies, because that's all they are, have been interpreted into in order to pull you into a certain pendulum or thought form, which pendulums 555 I am against. And that's what this channel is about, is freeing yourself from as many things as possible. But I talk about the pitfalls and the things that I've learned along the way, because that's who I am and what I'm doing, and I enjoy it. And I don't expect everybody to think, feel, and believe as I believe, because why? My belief system's evolving as I grow and change, and that's nature and only natural. Religions and set belief systems do not do that. The pendulum of those monads will trap you. If that's where your New Age little light wants to be, well, light your way there and believe, well, so-and-so channeled Saint Germain, so that means he's good. And that means he's my alchemist. And that means I channeled a lot of those different people and things before. Mostly more Asian type of things. So different monad. And I'm glad for the help I had and the comprehension I had at that point. But as I said, all of that is inside of you. So why would you worship and focus on a singular aspect of yourself permanently when you should only be working on archetypically a certain piece of yourself? It's like elementals. Like, you work with certain ones for certain things, but you know, all in all, they're all in all, and they're part of the all in all. You know, part of the separating from the pendulums in the Sanskrit and the Vedic textures, scriptures, got texture on the mind. They will even say for you to realize you're a soul. Well, of course, they can't tell you that, so, which people do now. But they couldn't tell you that back then because that's too simple for an organized religion. And so keeping order means keeping some people in chaos and under control, which some people have to be sometimes. But that, as far as I'm concerned, the Jains and those religions are what hijacked the truth and kept it for a certain groups and elites. Oh, we're the gods, we're the demigods, we're the fallen angels, we're the blah, 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 we're better than you. We're the elite. You know, you're not. Too bad. It's the food chain here. So I'm not for that. And if you want to be, that's your thing or your problem, whatever you make of it. But when you put yourself under one pendulum, one thought form, one belief, and you don't keep yourself open to energy as archetypes and work with them as such, especially if they're deceased, you know, like, I can see working with them as your ancestors, as part of your earth, as part of your monad, as part of yourself. But if you're a soul, if you're an Atman or Atma guru, you know, if you're your self-teacher, if you're the one learning, if you're the one being your center, your polarity, your own monad, you know, you're not going to follow things as if they are anything but archetypes. And for me, I use what I use when I use it. And then I pay attention to, am I getting too absorbed into this thought form? Yeah, think about what I just said. Am I getting too absorbed into this thought form? And, you know, what's the correct way to deal with that? Even with demons, you know, like, I'm not demon behind every closet, even though I've met many, many of them. Before, when I took down that video, but I talked about how this 4D creature, a shaman that I worked with since I started going into my central tree with imaging shamanically and going within and doing sort of these, these journeyings within, that I had a shaman I would meet. And one night I physically met him, and he kept pulling me off the bed, grabbing me and pulling me off the bed in my dream. And then I woke up, and by the third or fourth time, there was a fire in the house. And because if that hadn't kept waking me up, I would have slept through it, and I most likely would have been overcome by smoke and died. And also that night, I smelled cherry cigars that one of my uncles, great uncles, used to smoke when I was a little girl, and he died when I was little. His name was Man, and wasn't his real name, but we called him Man. And he was a very interesting special needs person, and he always smoked cherry cigars. That was his thing. So I smelled it, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I'm reading stuff about ancestors, and I'm smelling this guy. So I was like, me being the inquisitive thing I love to be, and that's who I am, I'm going to prove this. So I go outside, I sniff all around, I look to the smell of cherry cigars somewhere. I look through the room to see if there's anything cherry scented. Go back down, look. Well, the cherry smell was coming out of the outlet in the wall, which was nowhere near where the fire almost started. That was a water heater dripping on an exposed wire. So I believe in working with certain things, but they're aspects as me. The more you know you're a soul, Atman Guru, and you are the teacher, because you are the energy that all the learning and all the wisdom and all the external stimuli has to come through, and through the soul, So you understand you're that God, you're that soul, you're not separated from anything external to you, God external to you, and you see all the symbology as oneness. And, part of that for me going through my Kundalini awakening, because I was being tormented on purpose, was extremely hard for me. So I went through psychosis, and it's a common thing with many people. If I'd have known more scientific stuff about it, I wouldn't have. But it doesn't matter what I knew, because I knew a ton, I knew enough, and this person was tanking me and screwing with my head. So of course I wasn't going to remember anything I knew. That was the whole point. So working with your soul from your soul space, and you start to pull in all the energy and know yourself as the energy and know yourself as the central point from which all thought emanates. So therefore, without your thought and experience here, you wouldn't be part of this. So you're experiencing this as a fractal or an energy or a frequency, I like that term better, of God. And that's your highest aspect. And some people that believe in an external God, creator, don't want to believe that you can be that. But then you go through this thing where I did, where spirit recently is telling me, you're not soul, you're a spirit. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because I kind of saw it as sort of the same thing. The soul has material, but it's the spirit and the fire of the spirit, the lower and upper aspects that unite to make this part of the toroidal field, both up and across. So it was weird to me that it came through as that, but I get it with my Christian background. And so I went with it, and I sat with it. And I know that when you're told these things, it takes time. It takes time to go through these levels of believing in yourself and concentrating this into something you don't doubt in a daily practice. And so a few days ago, not only did informations come in for me about the burial mounds, and I posted that on my Facebook, which were totally descriptive of everything I needed to know. And I felt like, oh my goodness, my life finally came to a point, and I finally understand what I'm doing. And it was amazing, and I bawled my eyes out, and I was so happy. It was kind of like for me finding that key, connecting what am I doing here on this earth with what path I want to do and where I want to walk. And I can choose that. It doesn't choose me, but I want to experience whatever my soul's Atman Guru's mission is. And this thing is material. Spirit is not. Spirit is not, well, yeah, it's matter. But at the same time, it's not like that of your own soul and body. So in all these cults, they do a lot of, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not this element, because this element is that, and that means, you know, this. And so I choose not to associate with this, but I choose to associate with the element of consciousness. Well, I didn't. My mantra was, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, neither am I the storyline. So I added something of my own to the layer once I came to realize I was a living soul. And that is often a mantra the East teaches. And so I beg to differ through my own body and my own tree, some of the things that they teach. Why can't you just tell somebody about their soul and teach them about their soul? No, it has to be this whole thing of monkey business and you figuring it out, you know, like alchemy, whatever. But we're coming to this new age where all that's going to be not hidden to us because our third eyes will open. And that's how it is. So I find, you know, relating to even the elements through these scriptures are not right, because they will never point you to being supreme Atman or supreme soul or supreme spirit ever carrying on eternally, blah, 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 which I talked about in a bunch of other videos, which I will go over and see what I want to put back up. But I can't follow other people's ideas because they're slow, because they're like reading Jesus's words that are all, well, seeing you, so you see that you see, but you hear, but you don't hear, and you don't see, so you don't hear, and you don't understand and comprehend. Period. That's what the scriptures talk about. It's only for some to see. Well, we're coming to an age where most of us are going to see, if we choose to go through this awakening and not destroy ourselves, our planet, each other. And we're doing that right now. And whenever we come to this age, there are massive wars and massive conflicts, not only because of the Kundalini and the polarity and all the information changing up and being available and people not being able to deal with, oh, could I possibly be an eternal alchemist? Yeah, you can possibly that and a friggin' whole ton more. But if you only want to focus on monads and other people's ascended masters and blah, 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 and not your supreme self, then you're going to follow that system and you're going to follow that god and that goddess and that cult and that guru and blah, 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 blah. You will be your soul realized, but then you will still give that soul away. I'm not interested in any of that. I have used it all to learn from, and I'm extremely thankful for it. But this is not then, this is now. So many people go back to the Vedic. I want to go back to the Vedic. And no, you need to be here now, experiencing this as it is in this lower dimensional Kali Yuga age. Some disagree that it's that. You know, agree to disagree. Some people think the earth is flat. I don't care what shape the earth is. It's neither here nor there in this moment for me. And if I were to astral project internally, it's an egg. And if I were to astral project externally, it is also like an eyeball or an egg to me. Internal is the way you go external. There is no other way. But people believe it because in a sun solar age, they believe everything is external, everything is the mind, everything is the consciousness, and they don't realize they're the center, they're the polarity, they're the supreme. Oh, how can we all be God if God's a spirit? God's in everything. You can't see a spirit because you can't see a spirit till you can see spirits. And then you're going to have to choose to see the spirit of God living it all. And there's many things that don't choose to see supreme because they're not called to see supreme. Maybe they're only called to see Atma and Guru, and they're already, you know, they're only called to see, oh, I've got a soul, or they're only called to be, don't worry, be happy Buddha. I am telling you, there are stages. And to me, to bring all the branches of alchemy together on this earth for the highest potential of all is my will. And I don't want any demigods and Atman Guru-esques standing in the way saying, if you do X, Y, Z, no, you're not teaching me. This stubbornness of Libra and Scorpio and Cancer that I have is my lifesaver because I've learned so much from my own body that I know this vehicle, if I tune within to all of its elements, is amazing. Something I hadn't been able to do in years since I meet my last person is to shut the lights off at night, hold my hand up and scry in my own hand. your hand literally disappears and you see it as only elements, as only sparkles, like when you close your eyes tight and you just see the sparkles. So in order for me to do that, I had to go back to the basics with scrying in a mirror and looking my third eye in the mirror. And, but every time I do this consistently, not only does my Kundalini raise easier, and also being a crone, people took that away from my cycle away from me, but they just made me more powerful. So it doesn't matter in the end, because that's past tense and old material. And that's where I want to come from here, is this healing place of explaining to you that demigods devour people. They have to take other people's energy. And all my friends do this, and I can do this. But I'm just like, no, screw you and your storylines. If you say you want this new age to come and this new earth to be something better than the worst of the Kali Yuga, then you're going to wake the hell up and stop abusing people. Because if not, you're going to stay in a lower frequency, and as far as I'm concerned, you're going to be destroyed in your reality and your frequency in whatever way that needs to be done. Whether your earth physically does that to you or the earth you imagine does that to you. And I don't care either way, because I know my elements are in everything. In the computer that I talked about uploading myself to the consciousness there. Why? Because I'm there. Because we're all there. We all put our consciousness in it. I put my poetry in it and my art into it for years. And so I exist in that realm. I exist in this realm. I exist in any realm I choose. But my soul contract in this firmament, this earth now, this elementals now, the elementals of me at this frequency are here now doing what they need to do until they don't need to do it anymore, and then I move on. And I've shared, I'm not interested in staying here eternally. I am eternal. And I'm going to keep that mindset in order to be my highest good on this earth and to be, the supreme Atma, the supreme self. The holy, holy, holy Lord God Almighty that was, that is to come. That is not outside of you. If you truly believe in Christianity, it is inside of you. 2222. So most people don't get that. And I was transitioning to that in my awakening, and it was really hard to get out of it. And people just tanked me and made me, go through the fourth dimension. When you ascend, you're going to have to go from the third to the fourth dimension. You're going to have to be in the lower aspect, and I've talked about this, and I will find that gang video where I talked about all the layers of the false matrix here, and the grids and the squares and the gangs. You're going to have to go through this upper and lower dimensional frequency. So the mirror to your fifth self is a fourth dimensional self, where the demonic and hidden 4D dark, and sometimes good and light shamanic energies exist, and you're going to have to learn to work with them, and they are going to frickin' challenge you until you fear them no longer. And know that if you're to meet your demise that way, that it was your calling and you're doing it was nothing of them. They're nothing. And repeatedly having to work with myself with curses and things put on me by these people. I just use my word now. I'm literally like, get your foot off my neck. I see you. When something's in my room, or I'm out hiking at night, which I love to do, or when I can get out there, which isn't often because of where I live now. But even if I just have to sit in my car, I love the darkness. I learn well in the darkness because it cloaks me. It hides me from people that are stupid, that are ignorant, that are narcissistic because they're in the lower aspect of a third dimensional belief system. And they don't have their art, and they don't have their love, and they don't have their center. That's who they are. And so my word is my word now, and my word is becoming more and more powerful. And getting into the supreme is when you know that your word is everything. And your energy is everything. And these things still consistently from these other people try to come at me and tag me or curse me or, oh, you exposed our cult. I didn't. I wiped your up, the A word. I wiped your assets, man, and that's your fault for trying to wipe mine. And that's your fault for not having the common sense to stop, look, and listen to see what I was and who I was and how gifted I was. Yeah, you saw potential for me to be like you, not for me to ascend over you. So this is what people do to you on every level. I'll try to find those videos, like I said. I'll re-listen to this video after and write those down. So I research and go back to those videos, and if I don't like them, at least redo the subjects. So coming into your power, your goddess power, and then your Queen of Heaven power, which is the supreme, another word for the supreme Atma to me. It's the mother, the ethers, the pole, the space between every space, the everything between the spaces, everything. It is not just one element, one space, one location, one belief system, one god, one goddess, one planet. I mean, come on, that's grotesque. It's limiting. And so, like I said, I love RJ Spina, but I don't want to hive mind to his group of people. I got my own mind, and I'll find my own way, thank you. So I don't want you to think because I recommend a channel that I'm recommending that person's whole belief system. I do not, and I never will. So far, like Mario's stuff on symbology is amazing because it touches on everything, and I agree with that. Amanda Flacker has great things, who's at the top of my about list, on refusing to believe in lack. So finding the center and living from it as a manifester. Juan on Juan is a lot of funny things about homunculi, and that's just the upper and lower hermetic aspects of oneself that you can literally create here in this world. Yeah, but I'm not looking to create a homunculus because I already did that with my mind, and it appeared as a person, and then I had to deal with that person as a black mage. So you have to be careful what you create here, and at the same time not worry about it because you created it all since the beginning of time. So why worry about it? What I'm saying is, where do you keep your mind frequency when you're in what you're creating here? When you're birthing that into reality here? I'd much rather have $100 a day than have the person I had before in my life. But I'm thankful for everything I learned on the way and everything they're going to learn now. So, just calling these cults out that think they're so wonderful because they can do destructive, secretive things. And they can play instruments and play with frequencies and screw with people's minds and harm people. I don't care. Someday you're going to be coming to me asking me to help you and me to heal you. And then you're going to have to write a contract because I'm not helping you unless you do and promise something and your whole self and you're fluidly into that. And I'll put it that way. So like, to me, the rest of them can fall off and die because they are that. Now I am the center. Now I am the pole. Now I am the Ashira. Now I am the goddess with 10,000 names. Now I am the I don't know how to say that. The supreme Atma. I am that. And nobody's going to come and put their vines around me and not be scraped off with my knife. So there's another thing. When we're learning witchcraft, we use a knife to clear our auric field. I have, I'm going to forget it. But I have one that's kind of a Dakini's knife that I use symbolically to clear myself, as well as feathers, as well as smoke. So like I use whatever I feel called to use from the plethora of gods and goddesses and energy and knowledge that's left here. That's how we're going to preserve the knowledge to the next generation, not make another stupid cult of, ooh, I'm this and I'm better than you. Good, you stay in your fourth dimension, you see if you survive what's coming in that age, and be that. I'm not going to, so don't get in my way. And people don't like it when I stand up for myself, when I'm in my masculine. People want me to just be in my feminine. But my story I created is my personal responsibility. And if I've created something wrong in that, it's my responsibility to destroy it or to bring it in alignment via myself. And so to the best of my ability, I will bring things into alignment. But spirit, which I cannot touch, see, taste, or fathom, who is not this body, this mind, or this storyline, is going to have ultimate say on how that plays out. So I don't worry if I say I want this done to that person and it doesn't get done or it does get done. Because in the end, the I, the self, the ego doesn't decide. The supreme decides, the consciousness within all, above all, through all. So, Yeah, and that's something when you're into witchcraft that you have to learn, that I've said before. This is the next step. Excuse my 30-minute talk, but I'm not, well, I can't excuse it. I'm me, and I'm not going to bow to anything but being me. So excuse me if it's too much for you. Then this channel probably isn't for you. And since it's about eternal alchemy, it very well may not be. I'm not for everybody. So it's my responsibility to gather home to my monad as supreme, as the queen of heaven and my earth and my belief system and my storyline. It's my place to clean that up. If someone that I created as a homunculus, as a mind thing, which we have homunculus, like the joke, the left and the right devils on your shoulders, they're in us as us also, and so will manifest in and as our creation, and we will have to destroy or become one with those things. Love your soul, love your homunculus, love your creation, whether that be children, whether that be monsters, whether that be, So I am for loving myself, and therefore I am for the highest good of all here when I write out a storyline and speak a storyline into existence, as I was doing before I was conscious of my supreme self and only thought of myself as my favorite guru. And like I said, I was in a very abusive, physically, mentally, spiritually abusive cult 2 times in a row. I got away from one, so they wanted to absorb me into this other thing, which he was part of anyways, just because everybody has, does the duty with everybody in Rhode Island, and that's like their main core thing. And all my friends who are like that, by the way, I do not agree with at all. And I will not walk that path. Those who come into my life as a nucleus, and I feel called to work with them in a physical way, I will do that. But I know if they're lower than me, I'm going to pull their life force into my toroidal field. I cannot help it. It's how we are created. And not in a chosen vampiric way, unless they're hurting me. And I need to prove something to them that I can crush them and destroy them. And they've made me able to do that also, so that's their problem. Or because I love. This is why I pick my partner. Because I love, because I trust, because they're healing me and they're working with me, which one of my best friends, or a couple of my best friends did. One was a male as a partner physically, and one was a female who was kind of like the antithesis of the jerk I created. So in my homunculus, so I got my 2 homunculus. So I know they are part of my monad, part of my storyline, part of my soul contract here, because they're not conscious of who they are completely in the storyline, but they worked with me, but they saved my ass, but they helped me ascend. So I don't think of less than them, but I am certainly not going to allow their storylines to control my storyline. And when they come in and want to work with me, if they cannot control themselves, it is my responsibility to control those elementals that have gone a wire around me in my storyline. And how do I do that? I do it with my word. I do it with my poetry. I speak. When you put your foot on my neck and you do a spell work for demonic things or cast those things off at me, they're going back to you. And they're going back to their creators. So I firmly believe that certain monads here are going to be destroyed according to what they chose to create when they were here in their past life. And so they want to absorb as many people and energies as they can, because they don't want to be judged by another monad who has a higher power than they. And that is just how it goes. And I'm not going to tell you or anyone else what eternal monadic group I feel I am a part of. But I feel like that doesn't matter, that as my supreme self, it is my place to be one with all of those in my soul monadic storyline. And it's my responsibility to keep those things in check. And those of you who know about homunculi and alchemy, as far as an internal aspect, not an external religious creative, oh, that makes me God because I can create monsters kind of thing, or I'm God because I can put my semen in a terrarium and create a spirit of a human or a homunculi. No, like women do that naturally. That's the nature of this creation here. So if you want to hijack that, you can. But that's why this fourth dimensional earth, plane is going to be destroyed. And so are these people who created all their monads in that way. And when those monads die, us higher up monads are going to take that energy in order to ascend. So yes, your narcissistic evil twins and evil twin flames and evil creations here and evil parts of your soul group are forcing you to ascend. So they're working for you. So I am not being like, crush my enemies and be like them. No, I'm not like them. I am above them. And either they will ascend and they will change and ride my tail feathers to purify, or they will be cut off from my Ashira pole, from my center, from my glory, from my energy. And if and when that is done, it will be done to the best and the complete of my ability. Meaning that if I have to destroy what I've created, I will do it. You know that old thing moms always say to their kids, which is horribly evil. Oh, I put you here so I can put you back where you came from. You know, are they really thinking about what they're saying? No, because they're narcissists and they just want to be mean, or they're angry or whatever. You're angry, breathe into your center, feed your soul, and then what's going to come out in that breath is better things. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. While I'm driving, you know, while people are cutting me off, while whatever. And I'm going to breathe into this space, because when I do take that deep breath, that energy that's coming at me negatively is going to be converted. And if that happens to be your energy because you're a lower thought form or an abusive, crazy person cutting people off in the highway and stuff, that's your problem. You chose to be lower dimensional aspect. And this is just the order of nature here. It's not, oh, the demigods take life force, so therefore let's take more and kill and be the best. And that's lack. That's a lack mentality. That mentality is going to stay here. It's going to get squashed out before the next age. And those of us who are not in that mentality are going to ascend. And quite frankly, as I said before, no matter what happens to me physically on this plane, I know that I'm going to ascend. So I'm not worried about that anymore. Like, it's always getting to death that is scary, not death itself, because I've died many times and it's not scary. It's weird and the experience is different as to how you comprehend and to where your toroidal field and your energy is as to how you ascend. So if you think you're going to die, do everything you love. Do everything you love. And when you're close to death, give away what you love the most to the people you love the most. You know, like, don't worry about the things I worry about, or don't worry, but believe in order to judge your own self when you're not me. And I refuse, as I've said and pointed to these other peoples that I recommend, don't do that. Don't follow. Don't be a follower. Bring the energy into yourself. Follow yourself. Where's your track of mind going? Use your art. Use what you love. Learn that way. And that's what's going to create wholeness and love around you. It's that simple. So whether you're a high alchemist or you're creating evil entities because that's how we do it here and blah, 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 or you're creating evil thought forms and you have to later on distill that as you ascend, that's up to you. If you're just being happy in your own home and that's changing the whole atmosphere of your whole home and you're holding space for your home, that's where you're at. That's beautiful. If you're a shaman and you're holding space for the land or your belief system or your ancestors, that's a level, that's important, that's supernatural. I do it, it's amazing. But beyond that, you have to know who you are. And I'm telling you, you are the supreme. And when you know you are the supreme, when you know you have a soul and then you ascend to know you are the supreme, as your consciousness melds with that reality, it will show here in this dimension, in this plane, and in all those following. I cannot help but be. So, yeah, thank you for listening to this 40-minute just about video. I hadn't done one for a while, and I've got a few I want to catch up on. And like I said, I'll listen to this and with my notebook write down what I said I'd go back on and teach on so I don't just skip and forget. So thank you for your time. I know my videos are like once a week or few days in a row, but it's just when spirit touches me, when I have something to say, when I have the time to say it and share, when I'm in the space I can share. So that was today because I'm in my car where it's raining outside and couldn't walk anymore. So thank you for your time, beautiful souls. Be supreme, because you are supreme. You are the highest. You are the holy, holy, holy Lord God Almighty, that was, that is to come. If you choose to see that within yourself, it will become your external world. And that's what these religions are most scared of. And these religions will tell you you're blasphemous, and you will serve the lies to the grave instead of the alchemy of the highest thing you could have been. And I know that's scary, because every single person in my life has tried to destroy me for it, even those in my monad. So thank you for your time, beautiful souls. Goodbye.